Hello everyone, and welcome to Colleen Connor's Seeing Eye Dog vlog, the Colleen and Joplin Show. Look how cute she is. It's a guide dog. Oh, don't you want to touch it? I am joined once again by Cheryl. Hello. And Mary.
Hello.
This video is going to be about how to be a sighted person around a service animal, particularly a guide dog, like Japs.
So, Colleen, what should I do if I see a service animal on the street and he looks so cute?
Basically, don't acknowledge that the dog is there. Mostly it's dogs, so we're going to speak from that perspective as far as service animals go, although there are other service animals. But in general, if you see a dog accompanying a person with equipment or appearing to help them in some way, you honestly want to pretend the dog is not there. You don't want to distract them from what they're doing, so kind of ignore the dog, really. So what you want to do, you can look at them from afar and acknowledge to yourself, that's adorable, and then just keep on keeping on.
If I need to interact with someone with a service dog, what should I do?
You should interact with me and not the dog. Interact with the owner, not the dog, because I can talk and communicate with you and the dog cannot. So I also know what's best for the dog, and so communicate with me, not the four-legged companion.
Which would be true for anyone on the street with any dog. You want to ask the owner permission to even acknowledge the dog or pet the dog or anything like that. So it should be intuitive, but people seem to have a really hard time with that.
Is there any time that it's okay for me to pet a service dog?
Yes. We don't want, in general, to be the bad guy. We don't enjoy having to sound rude, just being like, no, please don't pet my dog, they're working. Please stop. Because again, please don't acknowledge the dogs while they're working. They need to concentrate. It is okay to pet a service dog if they are out of harness. So if a guide dog doesn't have their harness or vest on, it is okay. And in general, it may be okay to pet a service dog if they are in harness or vest, if you ask the owner of the dog if you can interact with or acknowledge the dog. Sometimes we're in a situation where we feel like, yeah, you can give her a pat, and other times, at home when they're not working, it's like another dog. It's like having a pet dog. They get to have fun, they get to get pets and love, and
Joplin's very good at fetch.
yes. She likes fetch. So yeah, and they like love and snuggies.
Do people ever try to convince you to let them pet your service dog?
Yes, and that's really annoying. Similar to any comment to someone with a disability at all, we know what's best for us and what's best for the dog. So if I tell you a response, that's my response. It's not going to change. My favorite is when people are like, is she friendly? So you don't want to say, no, she's not friendly, because obviously it's a service dog. They're friendly and they're trained to be calm and collected, and it's a very well-trained dog. So you don't want to say, no, it's not friendly. But you also know that what they're asking is, can I pet and distract and love all over your dog? And the answer to that is no. So you kind of have to say, yes, she is, but she's working, so please don't touch her, like as fast as possible. Again, it's just ask and communicate with the owner. Don't just approach the dog. And our minds aren't going to change about our answer. There are people who will say, but she's so cute, and I need to. No, you don't. I really don't think you do.
And then there are those people who do it because they think you can't, or they know you can't see them doing it. Like when we went to the aquarium, and the woman came up and noticed that Colleen couldn't see her, and so just casually petted Joplin and then walked away without even acknowledging you or talking to you. So,
especially with people who are blind, we cannot see you So if we can't hear you, we don't know you're there. And that applies to if you have pet dogs who could distract my dog while she's working, or if you are going to distract my dog because she's working. She is my safety at that point. And it's not about the distraction in that moment. You might think it's okay. I'm just at an aquarium and we're looking around. If I pet her and distract her and the blind woman doesn't notice, that's fine. It's not that. It's that could become a learned behavior. So let's say we're crossing the street and she is used to people just reaching out and petting her and giving her love. She's still a dog. So we could be in the middle of a crosswalk and she'll just start following somebody like, pet me. You're not just affecting it in that moment. You could affect the fact that she thinks all people are going to pet her. And so she might see somebody who looks like you or whatever and then compromise my safety later on.
Sometimes you get frustrated with people asking questions when we're just out in public, and sometimes you're shorter with them than you would be other times just because you want to get along with your regular day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just want to, you're not trying to be rude, but sometimes it comes off as rude just because you're like, I don't have time to stop and have a 5-minute conversation with somebody.
Yeah, and that's why I do these videos, and I'm very passionate about helping people understand and be aware of disabilities and seeing eye dogs. I don't have time to sometimes stand there and educate somebody in the Starbucks or in a restaurant or passing them on the street for 5 minutes. And I want to educate them. I want to explain and have them understand everything about a seeing eye dog. Yes, here's what you should have done in this situation. But sometimes I'm just like, I just want to hop up. Like, I just want to go. Like, we need to go. I'm going to an appointment or whatever, and I don't have time to educate. And so the answer becomes like, please don't pet her while she's working. And then I just keep walking, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If someone sees that someone like you with service dog might need some help, what should they do?
You can, with blind people who have guide dogs or mobility assistance dogs, I would say, you can go up and address the owner of the dog, and make sure that we know you're talking to us, first of all. Because if you just sometimes in the world say, hey ma'am, miss, ma'am, I might not know you're talking to me. And appropriate places to touch me to get my attention would be maybe the shoulder or the arm. And just say, hey ma'am, would you like any assistance? Or you can acknowledge the dog too, but don't ask the dog if we need assistance. And don't assume we need assistance if she might have made an error and I'm doing a correction exercise. So let's say she just blew through a curb and I tripped on the curb. I would correct her, take her back, and we'd do it again until she got the curb correct. And then I give her lots of praise, and then we keep going. If you interfere with that, I'm training her, and it's kind of, don't assume I need help. If I look like I know what I'm doing, if you think you may want to help me, then just kind of state what you're doing, or ask and make sure you are talking to me and say, would you like any assistance? A lot of times people will open doors and not say anything, and then I'm looking for the door handle, and then someone's like, I have the door, and I'm like, oh, thank you, and I walk through, because Jocelyn and I'm used to her finding the doorknob for me with her nose, me grabbing the door and opening it myself. So sometimes people help and then also don't say anything, and I also at that point don't know what to do. So just communicate with the owner. Can I help you? What would you like me to do?
Right.
And again, just don't acknowledge the dog unless we need your help with our dog.
As two people who interact with you pretty regularly and sometimes walk with you and your dog, do you want to tell people about how they might be able to walk with someone who has a guide dog? Because it's different than walking with someone who walks with a cane.
Correct. So someone who has a guide dog, we can still do sighted guide, but most times the seeing eye dog or guide dog is on your left. And so this side of me is no longer available for you, and you would be on my right. If we were doing sighted guide, I would hold on therefore to your left arm, right above the elbow, and I would heel my dog, which means that I drop the harness handle and just hold her leash, and she knows, oh, I'm not guiding, we're just walking, and this person is leading, and I'm not responsible right now. If you want to walk with someone with a guide dog who is working their dog, which means I'm holding on to the harness and the leash, and she is guiding me, pulling me along, you want to walk again on my right, but you would be slightly behind me on the right side and walk this way so that we could still talk or communicate, but she knows, oh, everyone's behind me to the right, I'm guiding. I'm supposed to be guiding. So that would be appropriately where you would want to stand. Similarly, if you were helping a blind person, you can offer your arm. And if they have a guide dog, you want to be on their right side and say, would you like to take my arm? I can take you guys over there. And then I would again heel my dog and hold on to you so that she knows she's not guiding.
You mentioned something about having a process for finding new routes. If you have a new route that you want Joplin to learn, how would Mary or I help you with that?
Yeah, so if you are a sighted companion of someone who is learning how to train and work with their guide dog in a specific area, or if you're a mobility instructor, there is a process the Seeing Eye uses, which is called OCS, which stands for Orientation, Coaching, and Solo. And I will put a link in the description of a very good video that's done by the Seeing Eye on their YouTube channel about this process in more detail with examples and footage. So orientation would be that we would go sighted guide the first time through this process. So let's say I want to learn with Joplin in a newer area to me how to get to the pharmacy. So I would have Joplin with me, heel, and she would not be guiding, and I would be holding on to the sighted person, and they would be taking me along and describing to me what's around, what's in the area, where the curbs are, where the crossings are, and it is my job to show Joplin the training for that. So I would have her sit at each of the curbs or each of the areas that I would want her to stop at in the future. I would have her sit and I would praise her, and then we would keep going, and you would describe the route to me, and she wouldn't be guiding, but I would be telling her, we're going to do this route and here's what you should remember. Then the next one would be you would follow in a coaching perspective. So you would orient me to the area and then coach me through the area with the dog guiding. So you'd be off my right shoulder and the dog would be guiding me, and we would do the same exact route. And if we were missing a curb or we kept going and we needed to turn there, you would just say, okay, we're coming up on that left. Nope, you needed to make a left. Or like, you don't want us to mess up at this time.
Okay.
She needs to get the route right, so you don't want to let us mess up. You want to coach us to the point where we're going to do it exactly right, and she's going to get lots of praise and do the route correctly. So you would coach through. We're coming up on a left turn. This is that curve I told you about. This, okay, we've turned left. You're going to keep going straight through 2 streets, and then you don't want us to mess up.
Mm-hmm.
And then solo is the last one, which is as much as possible, you disappear like a ninja into the distance, and you watch us do the route solo on our own as a team. So Joplin would be guiding me, and I would do that route to get to the pharmacy by myself, and you would be watching from a distance where the dog wouldn't be noticing you or acknowledging that you're there, and you would only interfere if it was a matter of safety, but you should let us do the route on our own. And that's OCS, and that's a great process and a very organized process to help someone find a destination with a guide dog. And like I said, I'll link to the Seeing Eye video for that. It's pretty great.
Nice. Since I have just this week met Joplin and started being with you with a guide dog before you had only a white cane, Have you noticed anything that I've done that's been good, surprisingly good, or surprisingly bad? Because I know I've messed up some.
Yeah. So if you are used to someone who's blind with a cane, a lot of times we might want to follow you, or we might want to do a lot more sighted guide. So hold on to your right arm and be off your right shoulder, or follow you along. I always wanted to follow people. I never liked being the cane person, just forging the way for everyone. I didn't like that. So with Joplin, she's there to guide me, and so I want you out of the way, and I want you off my right shoulder. And so instinctually, you most of the time were in front of Joplin a little bit on my left, like just walking, like follow me this way. And it's like, Cheryl, can you go behind us, because we've got it, and I need her to guide me. And she gets confused if you're right in front of her. Another thing to get used to is that I have a living, breathing creature, so we'll be walking along, and then I'm like, hold on, we need a park time. Because my cane doesn't have to go pee-pee or poo-poo, just the dog. So sometimes we'll have to stop and have a park time. Another thing is you have checked yourself.
Yes.
Where you've had the syndrome of, she's so cute.
I know.
She's right there, and she loves me. She knows who I am, and we just finished playing fetch. And we're checking out at the grocery store. She's looking at me. She's looking at me. Oh my gosh, she's so cute.
This is all in my head. I don't actually say this.
Don't pet her. I don't know how your brain sounds, but
no, that's pretty much what it is. But usually I'd tell you that, and I'd go, I really want to pet her, but I won't. But just know that she's adorable, and I'm just gonna talk to you instead of talking to her.
Thank you.
And I know I have to check myself because she's around when she's not working versus when she is. I have a tendency to say, like, Joplin, where are you going? Or, and when she's working, I shouldn't address her at all and say anything. Right. So I have to remember not to say anything at all, and then, like, Colleen, the car's on the right. Or, something like that.
Versus addressing or correcting the dog. That's my dog.
Remember, okay, she's working, it's Colleen's job. It's not about, like, hey, you're going the wrong way. It's more like, Colleen, the car's on the right. So.
Yeah. And there was, like today, when we were in the restaurant, she was having a hard time being comfortable underneath the table because it was a weird setup. She was her backside was right near me, and you were sitting next to me. And, like, I didn't pet her. I didn't, like, touch her or anything. But I was like, Colleen, she's not happy. Would it help if I pet her right now? And eventually you were like, yeah, that would be good.
Yes.
But that was like, I checked with you first.
Yes. It's a lot of times just tempting to, especially if you know us, you know Joplin. And so you're like, Jop's this way, Jop's this, Joplin this. And it's like, when she's working, it's almost like she should hear no one but me. She should just be focused on no one but me. I make sure that there's a big difference between she's working and she's not working. Because I let people have fun with her and stuff like that. When she's not working, she's allowed to be a wiggle. And then when she's working, I want it to be very, you are working. So, and she's still a puppy, and we're still in the process of training. I got her a couple months ago. And so it's also important to realize that guide dogs make mistakes and tell me about them. Don't tell the dog or try and reprimand the dog. You can say, like, Colleen, she's eating something. Like, she picked up something off the ground. And, I will try as fast as I can to get to her before she eats a battery. This.
Yeah, and I've checked myself a couple of times because I have had dogs and I do interact with dogs, that my instinct when she's doing something, if you're not right there to notice it, my instinct is to reprimand her. And sometimes I'll do that and then go, wait, Colleen, your dog did something. So, like, if it's a safety thing, then I'll definitely do it. But,
The other thing is also terminology. A lot of people, the seeing eye uses very particular terminology. So, like, when Roscoe, the pet dog, messes up, his term is like, no, or oops, we don't do that. Whereas Josco,
Josco.
we started saying Josco because we just can't in this house. Joplin will be Pui. Like her, it's a German term that means no, negative. That's not something you think to say.
Right.
As and she might not understand what you mean because she was trained to listen to Pui, no, you know. And sometimes I'll say no, but it's mostly like Pui, we don't do that. And different terms, you know, hop up. Straight doesn't mean forward. It means find the curb. So there are certain terms that you also don't want to say because they might confuse her versus helping. It's important to talk to the owner.
The person with the mouth speak.
And don't give her directions. Give me directions.
You've had people do that, right?
Yes.
Talk to the dog and tell the dog where to go.
Yep. Another video. So, in summary, I am the owner of the Seeing Eye Dog Joplin, or someone is the owner of their service animal. They know what's best for them. The animal knows what's best for their owner. It may look like we don't know what we're doing. You can always ask if we, the owner, need help. If we say no or yes, just believe us. It's important that everything, while they're working, everything comes from the owner. The most love comes from me. Food comes from me. Praise comes from me. And terms come from me. So reprimands or corrections. Don't just, as we're walking by, acknowledge her and distract her from her job because it could be detrimental to her training at any time. Similarly, don't feed her. I'm blind and I can't tell that you passed her a piece of pizza. But she doesn't need people food because she needs to be with me in restaurants, and if she's used to getting table scraps, she's going to come up on the table. So it's important to understand that you interact with the owner and not the dog. And just admire from a distance. We know they're adorable, we love them, they're very cute, and they work very hard, but they're also very loved. And it's very important to understand that we know what's best for them. If you are concerned that someone is abusing their dog, you can contact any kind of guide dog school and they will put you maybe in touch with the correct school or law enforcement or, there are people who abuse their service dogs and that dog can be safely taken away from them. So, you can call the police or something like that and they can assess the situation. Don't go up to someone and pretend that you know better than they do what's best for your dog or you. So if you have any questions or comments about what do I do when I'm able-bodied and I see adorable things that are helping humans on the street, please leave them in the comments below. Please subscribe to these videos because they're educational and fun, and I don't know, you should just subscribe. And you can like this, favorite it, share it with people, and there will be links in the description. And thank you guys very much for watching.